And then just to tell you a brief idea about what this topic will is about is it's an introduction to how a design is an integral part of innovation and how different design approaches can be used to do some kind of innovation. So with this, I take a moment to welcome Mr. Desai, and here, like, I request you to take further from here. Thank you so much for giving us your time.
No, thanks, Bhavna, and thanks the entire team, which has really put together this very fantastic event. And I think when we look at the pros and cons of things, while there is a lot of negativity because of the pandemic, but I think this is the best thing which has happened because of the pandemic, that we can connect across different cities, connect across different timelines, and especially for young students like this, I think this is a fantastic opportunity to really interact with whoever they think they should be interacting. So I thank for organizing this event, and glad that I'm part of the team and being the first one to start the session. So that also is a very interesting thing. uh, what I'm going to do is I have a quick presentation which kind of helps you all understand uh, how does one go about first of all understanding innovation as a theme, and then where does design fit in, and after that probably we'll spend some time on any questions or any suggestions or any comments that the audience may have. Is that okay? Cool.
Please, can you all put your cameras on? Let us see you guys. At least let us, if we can't meet in person, let us see each other like this.
True, true. Yeah, so here I am. So I'm Harshit Desai, and I am, as Bhavna ma'am said, I'm faculty of Design Management and Innovation at MIT Institute of Design. MIT Institute of Design is a now a 15-year-old design institute, probably one of the most prominent ones, and surely the largest one in terms of the number of students and the disciplines that we have. So that's where I come from, and I handle multiple things at the institute, of which one of the recent initiatives is setting up this innovation lab at MIT ID. So at the innovation program, what we have done is it's a 1 year postgraduate program, especially meant for students who come with a design, engineering, management, any of these backgrounds, and then they become more career ready. So somebody who wants to fast track their career in this field, there is this program that is meant for them. So that's what my current role is, and we also have started some online courses and all of that is there. But what is important for all of us to know is to really first decode this whole concept of innovation. So what I've done is put together a short presentation which will help you at least get started, because uh, the the issue about innovation is that everybody has a different definition of what they mean when the word innovation is used. So I will start with this interesting picture. Now this was way back when even the cars were not invented. Okay. And this is where, if you have heard the name Henry Ford, who invented kind of the modern automotive, and he's regarded as a pioneer of modern automotive industry. So back then, when cars didn't exist, this is a famous quote which is attributed to him, that he said that if I had gone and asked people in those times that what do they need, okay, most of the people would have said that they need faster horse cars, because at that point, in the user's mind, in people's mind, there was no concept of a car. So essentially, it's a designer's or an innovator's duty or responsibility to help people think of that whole new thing, because it may not always come from the users as to what do they need. And that's where these two differences between innovation, I would like to bring out. So if you take these two examples, right, we know all both of these brands, one is Coke and one is Apple. Now Coke also is a 100-year-old company. Apple is also equally a almost 50-year-old company. But both of them, they are successful. Both of them, they are good, well-known brands in their own fields. But what Coca-Cola typically has been doing is the core product hasn't changed. Means back then also they were selling a soft drink, and even now they are selling soft drink. So the core product has remained the same, but they always keep little changes. They keep do they keep doing little changes, which is in response to what the changing preferences of the customers are. So if typically adding a new flavor, or maybe coming up with a new offer, or maybe coming up with a new communication, all of these things are in response to what the trend is and how do I read those trends, and the innovation that they do is in response to that. Whereas if you look at a company like Apple, they have their own way of coming up with the new products. They may not, and it is famously known that they may not invest too much in traditional research, right? They may not go and ask people that what is that you need. Okay, they may not conduct a survey where they want to ask you what features do you need in your new iPhone or an iPad, or any other product for that matter. So it's a lot of responsibility on both the company side to come up with these innovations, but which are in sync with the the larger business requirements. Both of them, they are doing it for business, but one is taking a incremental innovation route where they keep doing little innovations, whereas another company is taking a route where they are disrupting an existing market. Okay, nobody had seen a product like iPhone before, or an iPad before, or an iPod before. Like all the range of products that Apple has, they all were pioneering in their own way. Similar products did exist, but what really Apple did was to take it to the level where it becomes very well designed, well executed, and a neatly packaged product. So these are the two things which we are going to spend some time on. And the most interesting thing is, where does design fit into here, right? Because both the approaches require design. It requires design thinking, design doing in its own way. So uh, this is my way of putting it and my way of comparing it. So in these two approaches of design, what we saw in the incremental innovation, we typically use what is called human-centered design or design thinking as a principle, where we keep the user in the focus, and in very close interaction with the users, we try to understand what their needs are and then build the product accordingly. Whereas in the disruptive innovation, the approach that typically is taken is called design driven innovation. Now here design itself takes a very different meaning. So it is not the traditional design as we know it, but it is more of really thinking uh, very far ahead in the time. Many times this is very risky, because the kind of products and services that come out of this approach, people may not even may not have expected that something of this sort will come, and that itself becomes a reason for creating that wow factor, that okay, wow, this is something which we never expected, but look, this is a fantastic product that we have in front of us now. So these two approaches in the HCD and the design thinking process, as it's called, this is typically what they follow is to empathize. When I say empathize, it means that you need to understand your users, you need to do your research, you need to spend time. Uh, Many of you must be aware of this process also, because that's something which is taught in many design schools now. And this is where you make sure that you have understood the requirement or the pain point or the problem that the user faces in a very neat way. Then you define the exact problem statement. So after empathizing, after spending time, after doing your research, after doing your both qualitative, ethnography, all those kind of research, you define that, okay, look, this is what I am focusing on. These are the specific pain points or problem areas which need to be solved. Then the starts of the ideation process, where in a design process you come up with multiple ideas, then you have a method to evaluate them, then you come up with the design directions as to what kind of options you will generate. Then you have to prototype things to make sure that the idea is converted into something which is tangible, something which everybody can see. Ideation is an internal process for a designer. A prototype is externalizing it. It is used to showcase your thought process, your ideas, your solution, your thinking to everybody. Because when I make it visible, when I make a prototype, I think this is the most critical part of the design thinking process, where I'm making things real or close to reality. And then I kind of build the product, and then I end with the testing part, because I need to go back to the user saying that, okay, look, this is where I started with. Now this is a product which I have created. Does this make sense? Does this help you? Is it the right product? So and so forth. And then you kind of build things around it. So this is what typically happens in a HCD process, and popularized as the design thinking process. This is another example where incremental innovation, as we just discussed, uh, is is at play. Uh, the bottle on the left hand side, I think we all know this is a famous ketchup brand, and we also know, being a user of this product, this or a similar product, the difficulty in really taking out the last bit of sauce, right? Means everybody struggles with when the bottle is getting empty, the last bit of sauce, making use of it becomes a very clumsy affair, and people have all kinds of jugards to make that work. Now somebody in the team found out that, okay, look, this is a problem, although even it is a small problem, but if I really innovate and improve the product, it might just be more comfortable for the users to take out the last bit of the sauce. Now most of the uh, bottles or companies follow this approach now, be it your all the cosmetic products, your shampoos, your face wash, and they all have followed this approach, where you don't have to struggle to take out the last bit of any of the product that you are using. But they were the pioneer, they came up with this innovation, and that's where you have just made a very small little change, but it creates a huge impact in terms of the user experience, in terms of the comfort, in terms of the usability of the product. And this is how design thinking or user centered design typically works. I want to take a pause here and want to show you a video. I think that video will help us uh, establish this concept and this approach in a more better way. But so far, is everybody with me? Are you all able to follow this? Any thoughts, any questions so far? Cool.
No doubt, sir.
Sure, I'll just, yeah. So this is a quick video clip about one of the innovation that IDEO did, and those who are aware of this, uh, you know about IDEO, which is a celebrated design firm, and they are the uh, proponents of this human-centered and design thinking approach. So let's see what case study do they have.
About 10 years ago, we got approached by one of the largest.
Are you all able to hear the sound as well?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Okay, perfect.
Oral healthcare companies in America, a company you've probably heard of called Oral-B, and they said, look, we'd like a new kid's toothbrush because ours is starting to get commoditized. It looks like a lot of kids' toothbrushes out there, and you can't have that. We want to be special, right? So we say, okay, we'll do this. We want to go out in the field and do some field research. And they're kind of not sure about that. Like, it's not rocket science. We're talking about kids brushing their teeth. How hard could that be, right? They would really like us to stop fooling around and start designing, right? But we want to go through this process, this observation process, because we think almost always you can spot opportunities. And so we go out, and we're on like the first day of observations, and we make a small discovery. The small discovery we make is that every kid's toothbrush in the history of the world has had the same implicit assumption. It's a logical assumption, it just isn't exactly right, which is the assumption always was parents have big hands, kids have small hands, and so when you want to make the kids' version, make it like the parents' brush, only smaller and skinnier. Perfectly logical until you go out in the field, until you actually watch humans, little tiny humans, brushing their teeth. And what you notice right away, you get a 5-year-old boy brushing his teeth, he's not holding his toothbrush in his fingertips the way mom and dad do, he's fisting it. He's holding it like this because he doesn't have the dexterity, he doesn't have the fine motor controls that his parents have, and so he's got to hold it like this. In fact, the other thing he does is he holds the brush too far up very frequently, and so he's punching himself in the face as he's trying to brush his teeth, and we solved that problem too. But the main thing was, came back in the field and said, uh-oh, kids don't need little skinny toothbrushes, kids need big fat toothbrushes, right? Let's make them big fat squishy toothbrushes. And you may have noticed, now every toothbrush company in the world makes these, but our client reports that after we made that little tiny discovery out in the field, sitting in a bathroom watching a 5-year-old boy brush his teeth, they had the best-selling kids' toothbrush in the world for 18 months. So when you think about power, when you think about, credibility, if you could go out in the field and do that observation and come up with that finding, and your company, your organization was the best in its field for 18 months afterwards, would that be worth it? I think that would be worth it. And so that's this message about think like a traveler, be an anthropologist, use your powers of observation, have that part of your brain turned up as high as you can all along.
Cool. Did you all understood what was being talked about? Any quick thoughts? Anybody wants to add anything to the conversation? Did you all understood what was the key thing that happened there? Yes. Anybody wants to quickly summarize or just bring out what was the key point which was being talked about there?
Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, we said that when we empathize and when we are trying to define the statement, rather than just researching and theoretically, we have to go out in the field and actually do that observation and come back and then ideate again.
Exactly.
So it's mainly about going out there and observing things.
Yeah. And I think that's thank you for that. And I think that's the core of what we saw as a approach of human-centered design. And I think that's where most of the design projects which follow that approach, they start from the field observations, because you need to be very close to the users. You may have your assumptions, you may have your understanding, you may have some other secondary data, but unless you get that from the field, you may go wrong. And that's where you now see this as a norm, that again the product remains the same, right? Means it, after all, it's a toothbrush, but it's a different kind of a toothbrush. It's a small little innovation. I'm just making a thinner handle into a more squishier one, more interesting one. Then I add graphics and I do little things. I do incremental things, but they are far more valuable because the user appreciates it. When you go back to the user, it creates a wow, saying that, okay, look, they are so sensitive and they have found out the right need for me and build a product around it. Yeah, so this is one approach of doing design. And again, just I want to make this very clear that there is no right and wrong here. Means I'm not trying to say that there is one approach which is more better and another approach is less better. It all depends on the context and the business you are in and the timeline at which you are working. in the life cycle of the business. So that's where these two approaches you need to choose as to which one is more important and which one is more relevant for me to take as a company. The other approach, which we'll see some examples of that as well, it doesn't start with I think I see some very interesting scribbles done here. Is that is the scribble done by some participant there? Because I don't think it's there in the presentation.
I think someone did by mistake. I think you
Yeah,
can.
I just cleared it. Yeah. Very interesting. Thank you. So in the design driven approach, the way we used to start with empathizing with the user, and that was the first starting point for the design process. In the design driven approach, it usually starts with the vision of either a founder or a company or an entrepreneur or a designer, and then it takes kind of two pathways where the person who has this vision has to really filter it or maybe align it with what the socio-cultural signals or the trends are there in terms of what is happening around the world. And another important factor that the vision needs to be aligned is with the technology. I think design driven innovation, more than design, it's a lot to do with using technology, uh, which makes things work and takes it to the next level. And what typically most of these founders or these innovators have been doing is that there are a lot of experiments which keep running. And although we get to see the final product, we get to see that, okay, wow, this iPhone was a fantastic product, but it didn't come out of the first experiment, right? Means for one iPhone to become successful, there are other 20 failures which have gone behind the one product becoming successful. So but these experiments are very fast tracked experiment. They at times are thought experiments, they are at times very conceptual experiments. At times they are also very heavy on prototyping, where I quickly build something and see whether it's working or not, and that kind of an approach. But it's in a black box, means you may not get to know it openly, because many of these things are always happening in the back end. And that is understood that this is a process. Okay, I don't want all the experiments to be successful. There will be some experiments which will fail, there will be some experiments which will work, but what I essentially get is the value proposition. Finally, out of these experiments, I get a value proposition as to this is what is the right package. Means if I again take example of an iPhone, it kind of combines so many things into a package, saying that, okay, look, this is what the final product is about. There are so many things which come together, they get synergized, and then they become a package which people appreciate. Along with that, there is a lot of effort in building a brand. Okay, because many times the such products have to come with a lot of shusha around it. Means it can't be a thing which goes unnoticed. They come with a very big budget advertising, it comes with a big PR, it comes with a big baja gaja of the product being launched, and then there is a innovative business model also to support it. So typically this is how a design driven approach towards innovation or using design in a different way. Now here, the way we are actually designing, the way we saw designing a toothbrush or a ketchup bottle, it's also there, but it's a small component of it. Okay, the actual design is a small component of it, whereas there is much more to design driven innovation. Especially, this is where you need to also understand technology, you need to understand society, you need to understand how business works, and all of that eventually comes together, and what that makes something successful. So this is a framework, or this is a kind of a format which I have created to explain design driven innovation. The previous one of design thinking is a fairly successful and well known model proposed by IDEO and other people. This is something which, if you look at most of the disruptive innovations which have happened, probably they will fit into this kind of a model. So going back to our own example, this picture that you saw, going from a horse cart to a automotive or a petrol or a diesel car, the way we know it, or the modern automotive as we know it, that itself is a disruptive innovation, because till the time everybody was in the paradigm, as it called a paradigm, right? It's called a, it's it's a worldview which everybody has, that okay, if a car has to run, a horse has to be there. But it requires a disruption or a disruptive thinking to think of a car which is without horse. And you will be surprised to know that in the early days of automotive industry, a car was not called a car. Car was called horseless carriage. Means they were so enamored, they were so invested into it, that they couldn't think of car to be a separate product. All that they could think of, that okay, look here, there is a product which earlier used to have a horse, but now it doesn't have a horse. So that was the core component of that system, right? I couldn't imagine a moving vehicle without a horse. So the moment I see a car which is run by a petrol or a diesel engine, I don't have words, so I call it horseless carriage. And that trend, you will see it follows through so many innovations. Same thing happened with, say, telephones, right? When the first wireless phone were invented, we didn't have a separate name for it. Means because phones were always considered that they will always be a landline phone and that will always have a wire. I didn't think of something else because I didn't know how to put it, so I just name it as wireless phone. And same, I see that pattern recurring, whether it's a tubeless tire, or even in today's time we talk about cashless payments. We can call them digital payments now, right? Because now that has become more popular. But when initially that whole system was found, I was so used to transact with cash that I just found out a different name which says cashless payment. And to the recent example of driverless cars, automatic cars, self-driven cars, all of that words came later. But initially when I have to define something, I always use this analogy of something less something. So that's one way to define disruptive innovation, where I take out the core component of the system and then make into a new system or a new range of products from that. The famous example, as we all know, is by Steve Jobs, when they were coming up with new electronic products. Means there were so many other uh, electronic appliances or consumer electronic appliances, right from your iPod to your iMac to iPhones. All of this followed the same thing, that they all were by and large coming from the vision that this one person had. And this particular image, if you see, it's a very arrogant kind of a version of showing that Steve Jobs is doing his research or seeking validation not from anybody else but from himself. Means as long as he's convinced about the product, he's showing it to himself, and if he gets an okay for that, that's where they used to go ahead with the products, and that's how the business for most of the Apple products was built. So this is also well documented in the book by this name called Design Driven Innovation. This is a graphic from that book itself. So you can, those who are interested to know more about this, you can read up this books. A lot of other stuff also is there on the website. But essentially, this is the point which this particular illustration is trying to make. Similar thing is we see with Elon Musk now, because there's no problem which is being solved, right? Means there are no users who said that okay, chalo aaj Mars pe jate hain, ya to aaj chalo space travel karke aate. Means there is nothing of that sort which is stopping people nowadays. Life is going on. But because there is a vision that, okay, look, I want to do this, I want to colonize Mars, I want to make space travel affordable for people, what these are all not real problems as such, but they all come from vision of this one person who wants to build something and create a business around it. So you'll see this also as a pattern where it's all the disruptive innovation come with lot of high profile innovators who themselves may not be designers or innovators. Steve Jobs was not a designer, Elon Musk is not technically a designer, but they have that ability to put things together, package it, make it into a very high propaganda thing, it catches everybody's attention, and then that itself becomes things which are more people look forward to it, and that becomes a reason for it to succeed also. So these are few examples for you to really compare. Both approaches has design in its own way, but now you can see the difference in which it kind of spans out, and the way it has its own implications there. So the way I see is that if I had to coming to the main topic of how innovation works and what is innovation. So essentially it is a combination of these four disciplines. Okay, be it a human-centered design or be it design-driven innovation, you need these four components or four pillars to be together for innovation to happen. Design, technology, business, and humanities. Uh, Technology, as I said, it's becoming very important. I would urge all of you young designers who are here not to be averse to technology. I think that's a slightly wrong notion which is creeped into the design education at times, that technology is for people who are, say, engineers or who are good with maths and science, and we are designers, so we are not bothered by it. You can't be a designer in today's time. You can't really create good meaningful products, useful products, if you are not aware of technology. You don't become like a technologist or an engineer or a person who is a coder or technology person, but you should be able to appreciate, you should be able to understand, you should know the power of all these technologies, because these are the technologies which will make your design real. Because without any of these technologies, all your ideas will just remain as concepts and they'll just remain as sketches in your books, but they will not become real in the outside world. So some of these technologies you should be all aware of. Design means, yeah, you all study a particular discipline of design, be it product design, interior design, architecture, fashion, whatever. But broadly, you should be aware of there are many other emerging areas of design. Means beyond the traditional disciplines of design that you study, there is a world out there where new concepts and new what I would say approaches of design or new specializations of design are taking up, and which also are very important for all of you, even at this level. And it's, it's it's all available. You just have to search for it and you'll find something interesting which you can combine it with what you are currently doing and then build on further. Business has its own trends. There are new business models coming up. Simply like we look at the rise of all the e-commerce, like 10-15 years back, there was no Swiggy, there was no Zomato, there was no Amazon, there was no Flipkart. But today, the entire world is driven by such new business ideas or new business models. Okay, there are so much things which are happening in the digital media, whether you use social media, whether you create a brand experience in online spaces. How do I really look at some emerging markets, some emerging users who have a very specific requirement? A lot of discussion about circular economy, sustainability. This all are many uh, topics which are very important in the world of business, which you should be aware if you want to become a innovator from a designer. So how do you transition from being a designer to an innovator? So these are the other skills that you need to add to your kitty. And yeah, design is important, but design alone may not be enough when it comes to innovation. And then last but not least, you should also be aware of what is happening around you. Means if we are facing some issues about the COVID pandemic, or if there is something happening around, say, farmer protest in India, if there is something, how does election in UX or UK impact Indian economy? You should be aware of that. The more you are aware of it, the more interesting solutions and possibilities you will be able to come up with. And then there are so many other trends which are coming at a society level, where lot of discussion about, be it your gender identity, be it about people who need more affordable solutions, be it people about disabilities. There are so many things that you need to be sensitive about as a designer, right? And I think this, at a innovation level, it becomes even more pronounced that you better be aware of such things and such concepts, because that is where you will be able, because none of the design and innovation works in vacuum. All of this happens in the context of the society, so you need to be aware of what is the context in which your solutions will be played out. And that's where again I come back to the same circle, that if I had to define innovation, it has to have these four critical components: design, technology, business, and humanities or society, that needs to come together. Then only I am able to really come up with anything which is innovative in today's time. And we saw that these are the two approaches which, from a designer point of view, if you are a designer, you can choose, or you can have a mix of these things based on what are you innovating and when are you innovating. Yeah, so that's the thing which I had to share. I take a stop here, and I hope this was useful to all of you who are attending, and I'm open for any questions or any comments, anything that you want to ask, anything you want to know more about this. I'm here to talk about it. Also, let me just ask one question. If you were to define innovation in your own way, in one word or in one sentence, what would that be? Nothing right or wrong. It's completely, as I said, it's completely your own interpretation of what you think is innovation. Quickly, whoever. If you want to speak, you can speak. If you want to type, you can type.
Anything new that adds value can be called innovation, according to me, I think.
Okay. I think there are two interesting terms in a very short sentence used. One is the novelty part of it, and another is the value part of it. So I think that's a very apt definition, because uh, new is something which we need to define, because there are many times a confusion between the term innovation and invention. So invention is really inventing or discovering something new, whereas innovation is also about uh, packaging things which are already there, or doing things in a new way. So that's how typically people differentiate between innovation and invention. Also, there is a lot of focus on making it useful, right? You use the word value, because that's where invention also differs. Innovation always has to be valuable, and it has to be, by and large, commercial activity. Means it should generate some business or some value for the person who is innovating. Invention may or may not. Invention may be at a very discovery level, it may not give results right away. Means we hear these examples of scientists inventing things, right? Means including Newton inventing or discovering gravity. It may or may not have an immediate impact on the business part of it. But whereas innovation is always, by and large, talked about or spoken about in the context of it being a value generating or a commercially valuable activity. So that's one way to look at it.
Harshit, I'm Ashwak here.
Yeah, sure.
I would like to ask you a question, but I know it is unrelated, but I just wanted to clear my mind. So, is it something related to interior design part or manufacturing related designing
Yeah.
discussions?
See, I think when we talk about design in context of innovation, we are talking about all disciplines or all aspects of design. So innovation, as I said, it can happen from any angle. Your understanding of interior design, your understanding of product design, your understanding of architecture, it doesn't uh, uh, it doesn't matter in that sense, because if as long as you are following a design process, you have a kind of a method to design, you need to align it with these two approaches which I just spoke about. So there are many innovations which you'll see where it has come from this kind of a from a space design angle, or maybe a new material innovation, or many of these things which either they originate from interior design or the application is in the interior design space. So either ways it works. But what I'm trying to say is that there is a certain process to it, and if you are an interior designer or if you are studying interior design, yes, there is a high possibility that you all have the basic raw material with you. You have the basic ingredients of being an innovator in you, because the very fact that you are studying design or you have gone through a formal understanding of how design works, even if it is limited to interior design, it's okay. That's perfectly fine, as long as you understand that yeah, design is a process, and then there are certain these tools and methods that you can use. Either you can innovate in the interior design industry, where you come up with new applications, you come up with new materials, you come up with new ways of treating spaces and creating those experiences. That's one part of it. You can use your understanding of interior design and then innovate in some other field also.
Okay. So, is there any education eligibility criteria that person has to be qualified degree or intermediate or something like that?
So if you ask about the innovation program that we run, it's a postgraduate program. So that's where you need to complete a bachelor's degree. That's the basic criteria. That's about it. Beyond that, it's all about your creativity, your portfolio, your ability to think and come up with something new. As a basic eligibility, you need to be a graduate. That's all.
Thank you, Harshit. Thank you so much
Thanks.
for clarifying my queries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any more questions?
I also see somebody from Alag angle. Sir, if you may just, I've been very curious, and I always looked up to the kind of work that, and I've heard very good things from people who have been to your place. So what I will love to know your thoughts and anything that you want to add.
नहीं, आपकी सोचने का तरीका और जो भी मैंने इसलिए सुनने आया था कि मुझे बहुत सही लगता है कि जब हम भी जब कॉलेजेस में पढ़े तो हमको यही जानने आया कि बहुत सारी चीज़ें हैंड्स ऑन या बहुत सारी चीज़ें जब तक अपने हाथों से मटेरियल और ये सब कुछ नहीं जाते, जैसे आपने बोला कि बच्चों के लिए अगर टूथब्रश बनाना है तो आपको उन सारी चीज़ों को ध्यान रखना पड़ेगा, तो वही बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट होता है वो सारी चीज़ें। तो
बराबर
16 साल पहले इसीलिए हमने अलग एंगल स्टार्ट किया कि नागपुर में ऐसी कोई जगह नहीं थी जहाँ पर सारे लोग मिलकर इकट्ठा आकर बातें करें। ऐसा आर्ट अड्डा जहाँ पर अड्डे पे जा रहे हैं हम चाय पीने और हम बातें कर रहे हैं आर्ट। ये कॉलेज भी स्टार्ट हो रहा है जो खुशबू ने चालू किया, तो मुझे बहुत सही लगा कि इस तरह से बहुत सारे लोग इकट्ठे होकर अगर हम डिस्कशन करते रहे, जैसे आपका आज टॉक था,
जी
तो ये बहुत ज़रूरी है कि इस तरह से हमारी सारी चीज़ों को रोज़मर्रा के ज़िंदगी में एक बातों के चीज़ों को सुनते सुनते हमारे में वो ग्रो होती रहती है। तो आजू बाजू का सारी चीज़ें ऐसे होनी चाहिए कि जो आपको डेवलप कर पाए। तो हमारा जैसे बोलते हैं ना कि अच्छा म्यूजिक सुनने के लिए अच्छे कान होने ज़रूरी है, तो अच्छी चीज़ें दिखने के लिए अच्छी आंखें भी ज़रूरी है। तो अपना काम ही है कि हम अच्छी आंखें बनाने के लिए सारी चीज़ें करें। तो मुझे बहुत बहुत ज़्यादा खुशी हो रही थी कि पर लाइट गई बीच में है, बहुत सारी चीज़ें हुई, तो पूरा नहीं सुना, पर मुझे जितना भी सुनने आया आपकी सारी चीज़ें बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट है कि आप इस तरह से सोचना, और आप जो रन कर रहे हो पोस्ट ग्रेजुएशन के लिए सारे चीज़ें बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट थी। तो थैंक यू सर।
नहीं थैंक यू सर, थैंक यू आप। और आपने एकदम सही बोला, और आई थिंक आपका जो वो फोकस है मेकिंग पे, प्रोटोटाइपिंग पे और हाथों से चीजें करने का, आई थिंक वो बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट है। और वो जो मतलब लर्निंग के लिए भी, और मैं इंडस्ट्री के साथ भी इतना क्लोजली काम करता हूँ, तो सब लोग वही बोलते हैं कि आपके आइडिया की कोई वैल्यू नहीं है। मतलब सबके पास बहुत सारे आइडिया रहते हैं, बट जो आइडिया बना के कुछ उसमें से कर सकता है, जो एग्जीक्यूट कर सकता है, उसकी ज्यादा कीमत है आज। तो आप मेरे पास, मैं बोल सकता हूँ अरे मेरा ये बहुत बढ़िया आइडिया है, मैंने तो ऐसे सोचा था, जब तक मैं बनाता नहीं हूँ एंड मैं उसके बारे में कुछ करता नहीं हूँ, आई थिंक इट इज ऑल ऑफ नो यूज। सो ये जो सेटअप है आपका, और मैंने थोड़ा काम भी देखा है जो बच्चे आपके यहाँ पे करते हैं, तो आई थिंक इट्स अ वेरी 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 इंपॉर्टेंट कॉन्ट्रीब्यूशन कि आप ये
बस वही सारी चीज़ें आईएसओटी कर रहा है अभी, और हमको बहुत ये है कि हम उनके छोटा सा पार्ट बन सके इन सारे इंस्टीट्यूट का। तो बहुत अच्छा लगता है कि ये सारे न्यू कमर्स बहुत सारी ताकत लगाकर काम करते हैं, तो मज़ा आती है। तो हाय खुशबू।
हाय।
वही मैं बता रहा था कि आपकी है ना, इनकी मैंने पूरी जर्नी देखी है, और इनका इनकी सारी चीज़ें देखी है कि जो स्टूडेंट के लिए जो सोचते हैं और कुछ है, तो आप जैसे लोगों को ढूंढ पाए वो वही सबसे खास है कि इन्होंने आपको ढूंढ के हमारे सामने लेके आया। जैसे हम बहुत बार बोलते कि बुक से कोई पर्सन आकर हमारे सामने जब बात करते हैं, तो वैसे है ना, वो अभी आजकल हम बोलते हैं कि फेसबुक या इंस्टाग्राम से कोई तो भी हमको जिसको हम बहुत सालों से या बहुत दिनों से देखते हैं, वो पर्सन अगर हमसे बात कर रहे हैं तो बहुत अच्छा लगता है।
बताइए। Great. So thank you guys, thank you everybody. I hope it was a useful session, and I'll just write down my email address just in case if anybody of you wants to have.
So I have a question.
Yeah. Please go ahead.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
जैसे आपने बताया करके, हम लोग हर चीज क्रिएट नहीं कर सकते, वी एज डिजाइनर्स हम हर चीज क्रिएट नहीं कर सकते। देखा जाए तो मतलब कोई ना कोई आइडिया कहीं ना कहीं से डिराइव्ड होता ही है।
जी।
अगर इनकेस हमने कोई सोफा भी डिजाइन किया तो वैसे हमको गूगल या पिंटरेस्ट पे मिल ही जाएगा, क्योंकि हम लोग पूरा क्रिएट नहीं कर सकते। पर सर एक सेटिस्फेक्शन जो है ना डिजाइन के बाद, वो पूरा नहीं मिल पाता है, ऐसे क्यों? मतलब किसी ऐसे, जैसा आपने एग्जांपल दिखाया कोको कोला, केचप की बॉटल्स, और केचप की बॉटल और दूसरी चीजें टूथब्रश, उन लोग की चीजों से उनको क्लाइंट सेटिस्फेक्शन है, पर हम स्टूडेंट्स को अपने डिजाइन से पूरा सेटिस्फेक्शन ऐसा लग रहा है कहीं ना कोई कुछ तो लैक है, मे बी मटेरियल्स या क्या। तो ये एक्सपीरियंस नहीं है उसके कारण, या हम लोग को खुद को क्यूरियोसिटी और ऑब्जर्वेशन स्किल्स का भी हो सकता है? मतलब अगर किसी हम जो पर्सन नॉन डिजाइनर है उसको अगर वो पर्सन नॉन डिजाइनर है उसको कुछ शो करेंगे तो वो बोलेगा हाँ बहुत अच्छा है ये वो, पर हम डिजाइनर्स को खुद को सेटिस्फेक्शन नहीं मिलता ना सर।
नहीं ठीक है ना, अच्छी बात है ना, बिकॉज आई थिंक दैट इज योर ड्राइविंग फोर्स ना। अगर आप ही अगर सेटिस्फाई हो जाओगे तो आप फिर इनोवेट करना बंद कर दोगे। सो डोंट टेक इट नेगेटिवली। आई थिंक योर बेस्ट कंपटीशन इज ओनली यू। ओके, आपको मतलब यू शुड एक्चुअली गो बियॉन्ड वन लेवल की, अगर क्लाइंट को भी अच्छा लग जाए, इंटरनली आपको ऐसा ही लगना चाहिए कि मैं इससे और एक स्टेप ज़्यादा अच्छा कर सकती हूँ हमेशा। एंड सी वही तो डिज़ाइन की खूबी है कि डिजाइन इज लाइक वी ऑल यूज इट वेरी लूजली ना, कि डिजाइन इज अ नेवर एंडिंग प्रोसेस. मतलब आप कब बोलते हो कि डिजाइन खत्म हो गया? डिजाइन नेवर एंड्स. डिजाइन में
Never end.
हमेशा कुछ ना कुछ एक रहेगा. सिर्फ अगर आप ओरिजिनलिटी की और उसकी अगर आप बात करते हो ना, कि चलो आपने कुछ डिजाइन किया और आपको पिंटरेस्ट पे और गूगल पे ऐसा कुछ सिमिलर दिखता है. एक एक चीज आप समझो इसके अंदर कि अपना रोज वही सूरज आता है, वही दिन आता है, वही रात आती है, राइट? उसमें कोई नया नहीं है, राइट?
जी सर.
है ना? बट what is important is the originality should be within. ओके आपको, और इट्स क्वाइट लाइकली कि जो आइडिया आपको आया है, दुनिया इतनी बड़ी है, 7 बिलियन लोग है, राइट? ऐसा तो नहीं है कि सिर्फ
सबको हो
आपको ही
रहेगा.
वो आइडिया आया रहेगा. आई एम श्योर आपने जो किया है, आपके पहले भी किसी और ने करके रखा होगा, आपके बाद भी कोई ऐसे करेगा. और अभी जब आप कर रहे हो, देयर आर एटलीस्ट 100 पीपल हु आर थिंकिंग ऑन सिमिलर लाइंस एंड अ सिमिलर आइडिया. ओके, बट
Yes, sir.
यू हैव टू बी ट्रू टू योर सेल्फ. आप फाइनली आप क्लाइंट के लिए कर रहे हो कि आप मार्केट के लिए कर रहे हो, विच इज यू डू इट फॉर द बिजनेस सेक ऑफ इट, राइट? बट एज अ इंटरनल डिजाइनर आपको वो ओरिजिनलिटी अंदर से वो आनी चाहिए, बिकॉज इट्स नॉट, ओरिजिनलिटी इज नॉट फॉर द सेक ऑफ इट, राइट? न्यूनेस जो रहता है ना, जो नयापन जो है, and there is a limit to what you can do new, right? And at the end every design, आप ये लिख के रखो कहीं पे, ये बहुत डीप थॉट है. every design is a redesign. हम आप अपना ये
Yes sir.
और आप अभी जब साइंटिस्ट लोगों ने वो कुछ वाटर प्रूफ मटेरियल ढूंढा था, राइट? नेचर में तो कमल का पत्ता मतलब बिलियंस ऑफ ईयर से वाटर प्रूफ रहा ही है ना. तो क्या मैं बोलूंगा कि मैंने वो मेरा डिजाइन ओरिजिनल नहीं है? ऐसी बात नहीं है, राइट? मैं कहीं से इंस्पिरेशन लूंगा, मैं डायरेक्टली लूंगा, मैं इनडायरेक्टली लूंगा, कहीं मेरे बचपन में मैंने कुछ देखा रहेगा, वो कहीं पे आएगा. It's a complex process, so you have to be true to yourself. You have to be always benchmarking with you कि हाँ चलो मैं अपने आप को मैं चीट नहीं कर रहा हूँ, मैं अपने आप को कहीं कुछ गलत नहीं कर रहा हूँ. एंड देन आई हम्बली एक्सेप्ट कि हाँ चलो ये मैंने इतने तक किया, इसके आगे और भी अच्छा हो सकता है. आई थिंक दैट इज अ वेरी हम्बल अप्रोच एंड दैट विल keep you going and always help you to grow and become better at whatever you're doing. So don't get bothered.
Thank you,
और
sir.
हाँ, and don't get bothered कि Pinterest पे क्या है, Insta पे क्या है. That is, you have to at times also cut off these signals, because lot of it is also very like it's almost pollution, right? मतलब वो उसका कोई अंत नहीं है, right? वो आप जितना उसमें डूबोगे वो उतना कम ही रहेगा. So there is, you do it for your own reference, ठीक है, थोड़ा देखने के लिए, थोड़ा benchmarking के लिए, it's okay, but don't get carried away by that. And also don't get overwhelmed कि अरे यार ये बाकी सब लोग तो इतना अच्छा कर रहे हैं और मेरा ही इतना कम पड़ रहा है. Be true to yourself, put in your sincere effort, and finally it will pay off. वही आपको satisfy करेगा. If you seek satisfaction outside कि आपको client बोलेगा कि आपका अच्छा और आप खुश हो गए, you are into a never ending loop at times.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Also, there is a difference between taking inspiration and copying.
Yeah.
Yes.
So many a times you students, you try to copy it. And बहुत बार है ना, I have noticed that you guys feel scared to give reference. You should tell कि हाँ ये मैंने Pinterest पे देखा था. Fine, because we are so much deep into this digital world, it's very difficult to isolate ourselves, right? And even if we don't want, we see things, right? So accept it that okay, you have seen it, and you take inspiration from that thing and tell your teachers or whosoever, even clients, whosoever, ki see, I saw this thing and this is how I'm adapting this thing in my context, in my design. Recently, we interviewed Habib Khan sir and Hiren Patel sir. They are like big names in architecture fraternity. And we actually asked them this thing, that, you know, are you like ever satisfied? And what are the blunders which you have done? And they are like at the peak of their career and still they don't feel satisfied. Still they feel like there's a lot to explore, there is a lot to design. And there is this constant dissatisfaction. I think as a designer, it is kind of a
what I'll say, curse which we'll have. Like we are like always dissatisfied. So that is what, as sir said, it is a driving force and we have to take it positively. And that is what actually makes us better and better designers as and when we like, grow in our career and everything. So it's a good feeling that you are dissatisfied. People who are designers who are basically satisfied, they will never like grow. They will be like, okay, fine, we are done. And innovation will stop happening.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's so well said, like really.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir.
It
And
was
actually, it's very true. The moment you get satisfied, your creativity or your innovation comes to a hold or comes to a stop because you're like, okay, I've achieved what I want. But there is, if it's a never ending process, you will always be refining your own skills, and you'll always be coming up with new things, which is what will make you stand out, or you if you get dissatisfaction is the only way to go about it. That's what I feel.
yeah.
In a positive way. Obviously, you have to
Yeah,
take things in a positive way. You have to also enjoy,
yeah,
celebrate whatever success you do, whatever good work you do. I think you should surely do that. But always have this little gap. वो 19-20 का फर्क जो बोलते हैं ना अपन, I think that is what you need to measure. कि भैया ठीक है, हाँ, ये इतना मैंने कर लिया, बट वो लास्ट एक जो मास्टर स्ट्रोक जिसको बोलते हैं, वो हमेशा बाकी ही रहता है. एंड दैट इज व्हाट कीप्स यू गोइंग. एंड आई थिंक दैट्स व्हाट एवरीबॉडी शुड एस्पायर फॉर इन अ वे.
एंड वो हम लोग अचीव नहीं कर पा रहे, उसके कारण वी शुड नॉट बिकम काइंड ऑफ हैंडीकैप कि यार ने भी नहीं हो पा रहा है. वो वाला भी एक पॉइंट आता है, but that is what you have to overcome, and that is why you have deadlines.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
so
also
like basically
student है.
कितना लेना है और कितना जाने देना है, you should know that
Yeah.
point.
And you're students, right? So don't worry. This is part of your learning process, right? When you become a professional, then there are different pressures and there are different things which become applicable. But as a student, I think the only duty and the only thing in your life is learning and doing. बस ये दो ही चीजें आपकी चाहिए. आपको बस काम करते रहना है और उसमें से सीखते रहना है. ये दो ही काम है आपको as a student. There shouldn't be anything else as a priority in your life right now. Once you become professional, धीरे धीरे वो आप अपने you'll learn the tricks of the trade and धीरे धीरे आपको समझ जाओगे कैसे करना है. बट अभी अगर लग रहा है कि आपका काम नहीं हो रहा है ठीक से, आई थिंक दैट एक्नॉलेजमेंट इटसेल्फ इज अ बिग ड्राइवर. क्योंकि आप ही मतलब यू डोंट वांट अ फैकल्टी टू कम एंड टेल यू कि अरे ये आप करो करके. आपको अंदर से ही आना चाहिए. तो आप फैकल्टी के पास जाने के पहले ही बोल के जाओ कि ये मेरे को लगा कि ये कम था, तो ये मैं और 4 चीजें करके आई हूँ. बिकॉज that will come out of your own motivation. वो जब तक खुद से नहीं आएगा, you will not be able to learn and grow. So वो important है आपको maintain रखना. Great. Yes, anybody? I think this is very interesting discussion. I would in fact love to this is part of the fest, but separately अगर सिर्फ स्टूडेंट से अलग से बात करनी है, और if anything that we need to talk about on the professional development or any of these aspects, I think I would love to talk to them once again.
Yesterday I had a discussion with one of the MIT students. So I was just asking them that, what is the culture that is there at MIT and all, because it's Pune, right? And we are from Nagpur. So if we can adopt some things. And I'm always concerned about the attendance thing. Should we have attendance or should we not have attendance? And what about the deadlines and everything? And I keep on asking from people so that, whatever is good, we can adopt here at ISOT. So he told me that we never used to have our attendance. We just have deadlines. And it's like, so I really want to experiment that thing at ISOT that, there are no attendance.
Yeah.
There's just deadlines and there are like teachers coming and just reviewing things. And not like, there is nothing like lectures which are happening as such, but there are like deadlines and there's a task which you have to do and there's a submission date. That's it. So I really like that thing. I don't know how much we can adopt this over here because
I think it's so it's about see, design all said and done is a professional course. right?
Yes.
It's something which is a serious professional course that you are doing. So we would want to treat you as professionals as early as we can. So I think that's something which on both the sides, we as faculty and students, we have to come to that understanding कि ठीक है, we are faculty, हमने 4 चीजें ज्यादा की है, उसके लिए हमको 4 चीजें ज्यादा पसंद है, but you as a student are equally a professional. I mean, that is how I approach all my projects and all my students. I am also a learner like you. Whenever I do a project, every project is a new project. So ये सब मिलके करना है. मतलब मैं फैकल्टी हूँ, उसके लिए मुझको 4 चीजें ज्यादा आती है, that is ठीक है, that's incidental. But I am treating you as a professional and you should work with me. तो फिर आपको क्लास में आना है, वो आपकी जिम्मेदारी है. आपको वो टाइम पे वो काम करना है, वो आपकी जिम्मेदारी है. आपको ये टाइम पे सबमिट करना है, वो आपकी जिम्मेदारी. यू डोंट डू इट बिकॉज मैंने बोला है और मैं फैकल्टी हूँ और मैं आपको ग्रेड देने वाला हूँ, उसके लिए आप ये कर रहे हो. यू डोंट गेट इनटू दैट थिंग बिकॉज यू ट्रीट एवरीथिंग एज अ प्रोफेशनल प्रोजेक्ट, बिकॉज दैट इज हाउ यू लर्न टू बी प्रोफेशनल. मतलब प्रोफेशनल बनने का अलग कोई कोर्स थोड़ी है ना. मतलब आप जो काम करते हो और वो काम करने का तरीका ही आपका प्रोफेशनलिज्म है.
Yes.
So I think all students, you should take more and more ownership of your own learning. All the faculty members, all the resources, everybody else in the world is there to help you and at as your disposal. But करना क्या है, कितने शिद्दत से करना है, कितने सिंसियरिटी से करना है, that is up to you and you have to make it happen. Then only you will learn. बाकी टेक्निकली इंटीरियर डिजाइन के प्रिंसिपल्स और सॉफ्टवेयर और वो सब है, वो आप कहीं पे भी सीख लोगे. दैट इज नॉट व्हाट इज द ओनली लर्निंग. जो असली लर्निंग है वो ये है कि आप काम कैसे करते हो. आप फाइनली जब आप 3-4 साल में जब यहाँ से पढ़ के निकलते हो, तो आप अपने खुद के पैरों पे खड़े होके क्या कर सकते हो, इज व्हाट इज द रियल टेस्ट ऑफ योर लर्निंग. वहां पे तो कोई फैकल्टी आने वाला नहीं. जब आप ऑफिस में जाओगे, वहां पे तो कोई फैकल्टी नहीं बोलेगा कि आपका ये सबमिशन है, आप वो नहीं करोगे तो यू विल बेयर द कॉस्ट ऑफ इट. आप अगर टाइम से ऑफिस पे नहीं जाओगे, एक बार सुनेगा, 2 बार सुनेगा, तीसरी बार वो बोलेगा ठीक है आप आओ ही मत, आपको निकाल दिया. इट इज दैट इज हाउ द वर्ल्ड इज आउट देयर, राइट? सो द अर्ली यू अंडरस्टैंड दिस एंड अर्ली यू स्टार्ट टू अडॉप्ट दिस थिंकिंग, I think that is the only way, and then automatically attendance, submission, grades, this all will come to an equilibrium. Then you will understand कि हाँ उसकी अपनी एक value है, but the real value is in actually doing good creative professional work. That's it. उसके अलावा दूसरा कुछ है नहीं.
Very, very nicely put. Very nicely put. Okay. Anything else anyone wants to ask? I think these discussions are like the crux of the whole thing.
I know. इसलिए मैंने बोला ना, presentation तो ठीक है, एक अपने इसके लिए चाहिए, context के लिए. I think the discussion is more important and
more interesting.
we'd love to have more of these. Chalo. Great, thank you. If there are no more questions, I think we'll conclude this here. But I'm always available, and if you need anything further on any front, means you know all what I'm involved in. So at any level, anything that you need, feel free to reach out to me, and I'll try to help you in the best possible way beyond all whatever we just discussed.
Thank you so much.
Sir, I asked my question in chat box.
कहाँ गया? बोल दो ना क्या था क्वेश्चन. I can't find it. How to I would like to know where and how to start from basics, right? ये वाला क्या गायत्री?
Sir, should I join online classes of interior designing? Is it valuable?
See, I think in online, just get this thing clear कि take out a course or pick a course which has some element of a conceptual or the theory part.
Yes, sir.
Don't go for a online course जो आपको सिर्फ कोई सॉफ्टवेयर या टूल या ऐसे कुछ सिखा रहा है. Don't get that. Okay, so pick a online course जिसके अंदर थोड़ा थियरी, थोड़ा कंसेप्ट, थोड़ा आपको सोचने वाला जो काम करने पड़े ना, ऐसा कोई कोर्स करो. और दूसरा, pick a online course जहाँ पे faculty का session हो. Means now there are two versions of online course, right? One is a आप Coursera पे जाओगे free में कुछ तो भी है, वहाँ पे कुछ
No,
videos
sir,
चल रहे हैं.
from my college.
हाँ, but college में भी अगर if there is a live faculty interaction, I think that is a more better version of doing a online course. And I think all of you should get used to this new way of learning. Don't consider online learning as a replacement or as a secondary thing. Okay, we all know for at least next 6 months or so, or at least a year at least, we all will have to learn in this mode only. ऐसे ही मान के चलो आप. We know that
Okay,
there are
sir.
challenges on both the sides. As a faculty, as an institute, we also face a challenge कि online कैसे करें, and you as a student also feel it difficult at times. But
Yes, sir.
you have to think in a positive way. अभी जैसे ये जो lecture हुआ अपना, right? This wouldn't have been possible if online wouldn't have been there.
Yes.
मतलब
Yes, sir.
it was very rare that I could have come to Nagpur, or you all as a student would have come to MIT ID. It wouldn't have happened. Means it, मतलब सर 15-16 साल से अलग एंगल चल रहा है, 15 साल से MIT भी चल रहा है. This is the first time we are getting to talk, right? So just imagine the power of online and power of these kind of collaborations. So I think make the most. And why India? Then you can learn from the best of the places यार. Means आप कहाँ पे, you can learn from Harvard, Oxford भी कमी नहीं है अगर आपको सीखना है तो. Everything is available. You have to just make sure that you have that, वो भूख चाहिए, वो ये चाहिए कि मेरे को करना है करके, and you will learn from all places.
Yes.
So online, I think the world is going online. You have to adapt to it and make this into probably a not if not primary but a equally important mode of learning. 50-50 होना चाहिए. आप 50% ऑनलाइन सीखोगे, 50% आप कहीं पे जाके प्रोटोटाइप करोगे, कहीं पे फैकल्टी से इंटरेक्ट करोगे, कोई लैब में जाओगे, कहीं सेंटर में जाओगे. दैट इज हाउ थिंग्स विल इवेंचुअली इवॉल्व एंड इट विल वर्क.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
ओके.
All right.
Do we have any more questions before we conclude? I think Gayatri had a question, but she's not there.
Yeah, I think it was. Anyways, please ask the students to write to me, and I'll be happy to take up
Yeah,
any
surely.
questions and connect with them, and anything further also if required, anytime we'll be happy to collaborate and take this forward. And many thanks. I'm really happy that this finally happened, and I got to be part of this. So thanks for organizing this, and thanks for all the coordination from everybody's side.
Thank you, sir, for this interesting talk.
Yes.
खुशबू मैम थैंक यू. ये ऐसी बहुत अच्छी अच्छी चीज़ें किया करिए. हम हर बार आपके साथ सुनने आते जाएंगे, क्योंकि हम सुनते हैं तो हम डिलीवर कर सकते हैं. तो जब बातें हम भी सुनते हैं बड़े लोग, तो बहुत सारी चीज़ें कि हमारे आने वाले लोगों को बातें करते समय इनकी कहानियाँ सुना सकते. तो अच्छा लगा सर, थैंक यू. फिर मिलते हैं जल्दी से.
यस सर.
आपके सेशन का भी वेट कर रहे हैं.
यस.
चलो, thank you. Bye bye guys. Thank you. Take care.
Thank you all for being a part.
Thank you so much.
And we have a feedback link sent on the chat box. So please write your feedback on the workshop.
All right.
See you all tomorrow for the next workshop. Bye till then.
Bye.
Bye for now. Bye.